Hope you survived the experience. To me, this has always been the most appropriate tagline for the X-Men, where death is almost a member of the team, and several times actually has been. To prepare young mutants for the human world, several specialized schools have been created. Places like Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters, the Massachusetts Academy, Xavier's Institute for Higher Learning, Jean Grey's Institute for Higher Learning, and the Hellfire Academy. Their scholastic goals? For students to use their special powers to protect and befriend humanity, or to dominate it using their naturally superior mutant abilities. But even the most advanced training and superpowered teachers cannot keep the evil mutants, dangerous supervillains, and hate groups of the world from endangering the lives of the young mutant students. By my count, 88 mutant students have lost their lives over the course of 3 decades, despite the protection and guidance these specialized schools are supposed to provide. In this episode, I'm going to take some time to spotlight those deceased students, even those students whose most lasting impression is a gravestone in the school's cemetery. Buckle up, because it's going to get sad on this episode of Lesser Evils. Hope you survive the experience. The Xavier schools would suffer the first in a long line of student deaths, with the infamous killing of Cypher from the New Mutants. His sacrificial death, gunned down at the hands of a goofy-looking bastard like the Animator, would become the cautionary tale for future generations of students. A few years later, the Massachusetts Academy's premier mutant squad, the Hellions, would be massacred by the time-traveling Trevor Fitzroy. Alongside most of the known Hellions, Jetstream, Beef, Roulette, Taro, Bevatron, and Cat's Eye, 12 other nameless members of the team have their life energies ripped out and used to power Fitzroy's time portals. Emma Frost would reopen the Massachusetts Academy as an Xavier school with a new group of students, Generation X. This group of students couldn't avoid the Reaper either. Gen X member Sync would aid in disarming bombs planted in the school by Emma Frost's psychopathic older sister villain, Adrian. Sync ends up sacrificing himself to protect his friends and other students from a bomb exploding. The 2000s would prove to be a very bloody decade for the Xavier schools, starting in 2003. Things get really dark really quickly when the anti-mutant Church of Humanity kidnapped and crucified several mutants on the lawn of the Xavier Institute for Higher Learning. One of those victims turns out to be Skin, another member of Generation X. Despite the X-Men's best efforts and Miracle Angel blood, he dies from the trauma suffered. Not long after, in the pages of New X-Men, Quentin Quire and his Omega gang begin a riot on school grounds during Media Day. As Quentin's gang exits the school, they blow off the doors on their way out. Dummy, a student made of living gas inside of a containment suit, has that suit ripped apart by the flying debris from the explosion. With nothing to contain his essence, Dummy's gas dissipates into the open air and he perishes. In order to stop the riot, Sophie Cuckoo of the Stepford Cuckoos takes a power-boosting drug and leads her sister's psychic abilities in stopping Quentin. The power used in the act proves too much for Sophie, and she dies as a result. The hits keep coming in the pages of New X-Men, when Zorn, the quiet monkish teacher with a star for a brain, loses his shit and starts to think that he's Magneto. Part of the reveal involved destroying much of the school. Several students are killed in the explosion off-panel, including Paco, a plant-bodied student only seen hanging in background shots, and the reptilian Saurus, similarly part of the background crowd. Another student to perish during the attack was Jeffrey Garrett, a teleporting mutant who was once framed for murder. The young boy teleported to his room just as the school exploded and was presumed dead. Though his physical body died mid-teleport, Jeffrey would exist on as a ghostly form afterward. Part of Zorn's plan included creating a new brotherhood from the Institute's special class of students. This includes Basilisk, the super strong Cyclopean with light projection powers, who picks the worst moment to fart and joke about it. An angry Zorn sees disrespect and murders the young man on the spot with some sort of brain aneurysm. Esme Cuckoo, another member of Zorn's brotherhood, who is also Zorn's lover/drug dealer, loses her life when she turns against Zorn and has her metal earring shoved into her brain as punishment. After the Zorn affair, Emma Frost and a group of students become trapped in a building by a group of humans angry about Zorn's brutal attack on New York. During the mob attack, pyrokinetic student Hothead heroically takes a stand, but ends up kicked to death by the mob before Emma Frost can rescue the young man. The tragedy just keeps rolling along, with the young student from Canada known as Squid Boy. After finding a friend in the seemingly reformed villain, the Juggernaut, Squid Boy ends up very shocked when he catches the Juggernaut seemingly, though not really, working with the bad guys again. Squid Boy's little heart is shattered, followed soon after by all of his bones when Black Tom crushes him with vines. 2005 would be a slow year for funerals, as only one student died. but man, it was a rough one. Wing had his beloved flying powers ripped from him thanks to a villain injecting him with the mutant cure. Manipulated by the imprisoned Danger Room, Wing is talked into committing suicide, which allows the program to break its bonds. 05 was the calm before the storm, because 06 is possibly the darkest year ever for any of the Xavier schools. First came M-Day. 98% of the world's mutant population loses their powers, including most of the Xavier students. New X-Men Volume 2 wastes no time with the pain when Wolverine finds the corpse of former water-breathing student Hydra, who had been sleeping at the bottom of the pool when his powers disappeared. The ghostly Jeffrey Garrett completely vanishes, presumably having lost his powers and ceased to exist. With the release of the Deadly Genesis miniseries, readers learn about Xavier's sacrifice of Moira McTaggart's mutant students on the man island known as Krakoa. Despite getting the best Matrix-style download of X-Men skills, the Earth-controlling Petra is incinerated by a lava-spewing island monster, while her teammate Sway's time control abilities do nothing to stop her from being cut in half. More death comes in the pages of New X-Men Volume 2 when the religiously zealous Purifiers take aim at the school. Their opening salvo consisted of surface-to-air rockets that strike the two buses carrying away the newly human students who were being sent away for their own safety. In just seconds, 42 young men and women are killed, including the superhumanly stretchable Rubbermaid, the multi-talented music-powered student DJ, and Tag, who can make you play the game whether you want to or not. This is soon followed by the cold-blooded assassination of pheromone-manipulating student Wallflower via headshot by a Purifier sniper. The winged mutant Icarus is unwittingly used in the Purifier's plot and ends up having his wings amputated before later being executed on the floor of a church. Finally attacking the school proper, the Purifiers infiltrate the dorm building. The porcupine-like mutant Quill picks the worst time to hang out in the hall and is gunned down by a Purifier soldier. After all of that death, about 2 years go by without any more kids dying. Bad luck befalls the student team, the Young X-Men, specifically the lycanthropic student Wolf Cub. Once the treasured prize of a corporate werewolf mutant cult, fuck I love comics, Wolf Cub thought he was graduating to the big leagues. In actuality, he is conned by the cyborg Donald Pierce before the villain mortally wounds the young student when he is found out. When most of the world's remaining mutants moved to the island of Utopia, the Xavier students came along and carried their weight. Death would find the students even on their island retreat during the 2010 Necrotia storyline. Onyx, the other giant rock-bodied student at Xavier's, best known for having his heart broken by Mystique the Pervert, saw his moment of glory become the end of his life when he was reduced to ash by the former Xavier student Wither. Speaking of Wither, let's talk about how sad his life is. Having accidentally killed his dad when his powers emerged, he felt betrayed by the teachers at the school who turned him over to the authorities. Wither would later be allowed to return to the school, only to accidentally cripple the girl he has a crush on. After leaving the school, Wither hooks up with the vampiric mutant Selene, then helps her with her Necrotia plans before meeting his end at the hands of his school rival and counterpart, Elixir. Another 7 years would go by with no student deaths, until the Jean Grey school moved to Limbo and brought in the demon-summoning mutant named Sepna. Sepna becomes manipulated by eldritch god tentacle beings, until she is mercy-killed by her teacher Magic to save the world. Brightside, she's a talking sword now. After the school was moved to Central Park in New York, it became involved in the Secret Empire event. Z-list X-Men villain Executioner used the opportunity to attack the school. He sneaks inside and kills the newly enrolled Earth-controlling mutant Bellin and the purple-skinned Oscar before being stopped by the X-Men. Kyle was a young student who we meet for the first time when Cassandra Nova psychically stealths her way into the school. Kyle learns that day that he is able to see through the villain's disguise. Unfortunately, Cassandra Nova isn't as impressed and ends the poor boy's life with her psychic powers. The most recent as of this video, and personally the most painful, was the death of Rockslide. The happy-go-lucky powerhouse of the X-Men underclass was sacrificed to the event gods for 10 of Swords when he was betrayed and killed in Otherworld. Now, this shouldn't have been a problem at all. I mean, Krakoa, the Five, mutant immortality, remember all of that? Nope. Fucking multi-dimensional computer glitch, and the backup is a busted mess of doofy-looking future storylines. Real sore about this one. The final known student to have perished is also a complete mystery. In the pages of New X-Men, the students come across a gravestone of Greg Van Meter. I could find no information on how or when this unknown student died. Here's hoping a future writer picks this up one day and shows us the final moments of this young student. So, why did I want to make this video? I really love the X-Men, and a lot of that is because mutants have the worst lives of any Marvel characters. Except for Daredevil. Nobody wants to be Daredevil. The up-and-coming X-Men students are not spared any of the weird, ridiculously scary, horrible experiences their teachers and their people have to deal with. Not only do these young students have to deal with the typical struggles of adolescence and the grab bag of various powers that come with being a mutant, but they must also stay on guard for the numerous threats that work hard every day to murder them for merely existing. It's hard for me to find a definitive number of how many students have attended the various mutant schools over the years. But, for example's sake, let's say that all of the schools combined had 400 students over the years. With at least 88 students dead, that puts the combined mortality rate of these schools over 25%. And I think 400 is on the higher end of the speculation, so that percentage is likely even higher. I really enjoy reading about the new classes of mutant students, but I always worry for each new generation because I know what's coming. As I think I've demonstrated, X-Men writers are ruthless, and will absolutely murk a kid if they think the story demands it. But this is what keeps me reading. Top to bottom, mutants' terrible lives serve as really good story fodder. And no matter how much I like the spunky, colorful new students that keep showing up, I know that 1 in 4 likely won't survive the experience.